Welcome to Wild and Exposed, your number one adventure, nature, and outdoor photography podcast. Wild and Exposed is hosted by Mike Amaro, Ron Hayes, Jason Loftus, and Mark Raycroft. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, welcome to another episode of Wild and Exposed. We are traveling around the globe today, but before we do that, we've got myself, Ron Hayes, and Mark Raycroft of Wild and Exposed. We are joined today by someone from a country that has not been represented yet, so a lot of pressure on him. Amit Eshel. And thank you very much for working this out. We've got a big time difference, so we're recording on a Saturday morning. But in Israel, it is what time?
It's like almost 6 in the evening.
6 o'clock in the evening. So we're not quite, I think we're 9 hours different. But we've been working on this one for a few weeks. And we had to put it off because you had an addition to your family. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Our first son was born about over a month ago. Big moment in life, life-changing event, and pretty fun so far.
Are you sleeping at all?
Actually, until now, he's sleeping pretty well. At night, so no complaints. Usually wake up once or twice every night, so it's not too bad.
Good.
And and I'm really happy. Such a wonderful, wonderful baby.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations to you and your wife as well.
Thank you.
So we start off these shows typically, with asking the question, what is your favorite outdoor experience ever? And it does not have to be photographic, just your favorite outdoor experience. That's the reaction we usually get.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky to have quite a few special moments in my outdoor experience, but if I had to choose one, it probably would be a very close meeting with a Canada lynx up in the Yukon. This is a cat that I dream about meeting for many years, and I tried once, and I went to Manitoba and searched for 2 weeks, and I saw one for 10 seconds running across the road and disappeared into the woods. And that's all in 2 weeks. And I decided to try again and a year later. And I did some more research and looked around where is the best place in North America to find lynx. And I kind of found a spot in northern British Columbia and on the Alaska Highway, and then went up to the Yukon, and I actually saw quite a few lynx, but the meeting I'm talking about was on the Dempster Highway up in the Yukon. I'm sure you guys heard about this road. Really cool road. And I was driving one morning, early morning, and the cat was walking on the icy road. And I always try to go out of the car and, get to their own level. So I kind of went out of the car and I laid down on the road, and the cat kept coming and coming. And to a point, it just passed about 2 meters away from me, and that's not the end of the story. When he passed, I wasn't sure what to do. I could only fit I could only fit his head in the frame with my 200 to 400 lens on 200. So he passed, and I was so excited and so amazed by this experience But the cat passed away 2 meters away from me, and he turned around, he looked at me, and he came back and sniffed my boot. And for another second or two, and left away and went into the woods again. And this experience just left me in tears because it was such a intimate moment with nature and such a close and such an exciting moment for me. Something I dreamt about for a long time. And, when it happens, you don't have the time to think about it. So it kind of takes time to think just after. Mm-hmm. So this is probably the most exciting moment I had.
That's one we have not had. But I think, as you alluded to, when we ask this question to everybody, it evokes emotion. No matter what, the encounter was, you can tell that, it's an intimate moment. It's a passionate moment. It's a moment shared. And that's what we're all out there after, right?
Right.
So that's excellent. You good job on the research, obviously.
Yeah, it's been a long research, but that's not the same cat. But can see
okay. All right.
That's a different cat on the same road.
Yes,
but
I saw them.
Cat, you can see the close-up of him when he passed just next to me. And you can see another shot when he's walking straight to me and with the early morning sun lighting the trees in the background. So that's the experience I'm talking about.
Okay.
So it didn't come as perfect with my English when I tried to explain it, but
that's okay.
It's the excitement, I guess.
Absolutely.
So yeah, guys, it's actually, I know it's difficult to find lynx, but it's pretty doable if you do the right research. And there is another one with more of the environment, I guess. So it's, I think it's a message to everybody. If you think about doing something, if you dream about seeing an animal, everything is possible. Just about research and putting the time, and everything is doable.
So speaking of that, what caught my eye to your portfolio and what kind of made me want to reach out and see if you'd be interested in coming on the show is your portfolio is incredibly diverse. You've got Puma from South America. You've got lynx from Alaska, British Columbia. You've got muskox from Europe, correct?
I've got muskox from Norway, and I got muskox from Alaska. Yeah.
So you're very well traveled. So obviously the research that you do is not limited to one or two animals. You've done a lot of work all over the world. So what brought you to that point? How did you get your start?
I think what got me starting is obviously my love to animals and my love to nature. And it's been a long way because I was not able to travel like this when I was younger. So I kind of started late with wildlife photography. And probably 6 years ago, I started taking it seriously when I could finally afford traveling so much and going to remote places to look for the animals of my dreams, the animals that I always dream about finding and seeing with my own eyes, the polar bears and even the brown bears, everything was exotic for me, even a deer, and that's the beauty about it, because when you go to another country, everything is special in your eyes. Everything is something that you're not used to see, and everything is exciting. And I started traveling around, and it's a learning process. You start to travel, and then you kind of learn about yourself. What do you like? What you don't like? What places do you enjoy spending a time in? What places you don't enjoy spending time in? And for me, I'm more and more learning that I enjoy the most the places that are not crowded. I don't enjoy the national parks in the United States that much, like Yellowstone or Denali or those parks, which are amazing, which amazing views and nature, but I don't always enjoy the crowds. So I'm kind of look for the raw experience. I like going on the Dumpster Highway, for example, going on the Dalton Highway in Alaska. On those roads, you can drive for hours and don't see another car or another person. And it's for me, it adds a lot to the experience. And that's what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for those places that you can be by yourself or with a good company and just enjoy and have everything for yourself. And I think that's the way I experience nature in the most powerful way.
Anybody who's wondering what we're talking about with these images, if you want to pause for a moment or go to our show notes and look up Siberian art on Instagram, and you'll see what we're discussing today. And as far as the breadth of images and how impressive Amit's portfolio is, it's outstanding. So many questions, like snow leopards. Whoa. I mean, you're scrolling through, there's so many images worth stopping on, but you've done snow leopards. Well, great shots.
Yeah, another dream.
Another dream,
another dream, and another research. You know, snow leopard. When going for snow leopard, the research is very, very important because there are quite a few places that offer the chance to see a snow leopard, but there are very few places that are actually good places that you have a chance to see one from a reasonable distance. And one of these places is Mongolia, which is not very well known for snow leopard tourism or for wildlife tourism. It's a beautiful country. It's a very vast country, very diverse. And I made my research and I found that in Mongolia, there is an area with a big density of snow leopards. And more importantly, the chances of getting close to one over there is better than most other places for a few reasons. First reasons, the mountains are not very high over there compared to places where you go in the Himalayas. Or most famous place, I guess, to see snow leopard is called Ladakh in India, in the Himalayas, which the mountains are so high. And it's so difficult to trek those mountains because of the, it's hard to breathe, and also the steepness of the mountains it's not doable. So in Mongolia, it's easier to walk in the mountains. The mountains are maybe half high as in the Himalayas, and also the regulations allow you to walk and get closer, which in other places sometimes you're not allowed to do stuff. So I found the location and I went there, and it's amazing experience because you based your own luck and on the experience of the local trekkers. And what they use over there is they use people that live, villagers that live in the place, and they know every stone in the mountains. And they don't only know every stone in the mountains, that their physical shape is amazing. So they can climb a mountain, like a 60-degree mountain, like straight up. They doesn't need to take detours or anything to go around. They just go up like this in 15 minutes. And it's crazy. I never seen anything like this. And these guys are responsible to finding the leopards because they know where to look and they know how to find them. And the camouflage is amazing. But when the eye is trained to find them, they're doing an amazing job. And once they find them, we try to go up as much as we can. We can't go like these guys, but we try to go as much as we can, get as close as we can. And it worked out pretty good with a few different animals. So it was an amazing trip. I'm planning to do another trip next year. I am actually planning to do two snow leopard trips next year. One to the same place in Mongolia, and another one to a different location in the Himalayas in India, which is pretty good as well, and different in some ways, but pretty excited about those two trips. I don't know if I'm allowed to do a commercial to myself, but if somebody watching the watching the podcast and want to come with me, I still have some spots, so you can contact me on Instagram.
So Michael, one of the other hosts that's not on today, he very much wants to go do the snow leopards, and I think he would probably be interested in visiting with you about Mongolia. So we'll make sure that connection happens.
Sure.
But that's amazing to be able to get the images that you've got, because we've had some people on the show before that do tours over there, but they do the tours in the Himalayas, and they're very consistent on sightings. But like you said, being able to get to a photographable distance has proven difficult. So the images that you've got are rare, for certain.
Yeah, and I intend to get closer next time. You learn from your experience, and next time we do another things a little bit different, and I think we get even closer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the Himalayas, the most famous place that called Ladakh, and it's been famous for years. It's not a very good place. You see them from very far away, a few kilometers away. But there is another very good spot in India, which we are going to go, and it's different because there it's more snowy environment, more landscape, and everybody wants to photograph the leopard in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And in that kind of terms, India is better than Mongolia, I think. So I'm trying to do both, for people to decide what they like more, closer or more with the snow and landscape.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to, for sure.
Yeah.
How many people are you able to take with you?
It's going to be 6 for Mongolia, and it's going to be up to maximum 9 to India.
Wow.
And obviously there's a lot of physical exertion in a trip like that. So not just anybody wants to sign up for something like that. You've got to be in a little bit of decent physical shape, right?
Yeah. It's I'm trying to separate those two groups, and to Mongolia to take a very good people that are in very good physical shape, because we're gonna walk more.
Mm-hmm.
And in India there is less walking, but you have to deal with the height more. So everybody takes the altitude differently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less walking. It's more like you go and walk a little bit, and you stay and wait in a spot and wait for the leopards to appear. But it's higher, so more difficult to breathe. So different, but I have people that are older. I have people that are 65 years old that go with me to India, and from what I hear, it's not a problem for people in terms of the physical shape of walking.
Mm-hmm.
Breathing is different. I mean, everybody is taking it differently. Sometimes young people have very difficult times in the mountains as well, even
Sure.
if they are in good shape. Yeah.
With the snow leopards, are you able to do them just by walking, or do you have to be in a hide, a blind, or are the encounters just spontaneous while you're walking in the mountains?
You're not using a hide.
Okay. Awesome.
But you try to be very, 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 very quiet, and kind of use the natural obstacles as a hide, like the rocks, and not expose yourself very much. And of course, it's important to tell that you don't just go for a walk in the mountains and hope to see one, because then you're gonna end up walking for hours around and probably not see anything. So you first kind of must have a plan. You have the guys that are going up to look for them on the top of the mountain, and you have the guys that look with the spotting scopes from below. And once we find one, then we decide what is the best approach to get closer. So we just, you don't just walk up and look for them with no clue.
That sounds incredible.
It's amazing experience. It's like just being up there in the mountains with the beautiful view and the fresh air. It's such an I feel so lucky to be able to be and go to those places.
No kidding. Yeah.
So
I'd love to have that experience. Your images just transport one there, and I'm sure anybody looking at them would love to see what you've seen in that situation, and just culturally too would be very interesting. To be there.
Oh yeah, that's another part of the trip. Very interesting.
I have some friends that live in Mongolia, but travel there can be difficult, right? Getting visas and being allowed in the country, or is that just for the workers?
For us, I think it depends on your country. I don't know. I'm not sure about Americans. Might have to get a visa. From Israel, we don't have to get a visa. But anyhow, I mean, now it's not normal times with the COVID and everything.
Yeah, sure.
Mongolia is closed right now. They did a pretty good job protecting the country. They didn't have almost no cases since it started, so the borders are still closed. We hoping they're gonna open this summer, but getting a visa shouldn't be a big problem, I guess. And traveling around depends. It's you have to get it organized. For example, we fly to the snow leopard location. We fly to the nearest city, and then we have the trip organizer with the jeeps that take us 3 hours into the wilderness. And then we have a camp, like a traditional tents camp, and then that's the base for the next 10 days. And it's a huge country, so if you want to do other things, you might have to go to the other side. For example, for the palaces you need to go to the other side of the country. So, but it's doable, yeah. And some of the roads are actually pretty good. It's not as scary as it sounds. A lot of times when you hear about a country that sounds very far and very exotic and very, maybe third world country, it's not as scary as it sounds. A lot of time, everything is doable.
Right. Yeah, no, they have nothing bad to say about the Mongolian people. They love the Mongolian people and have been welcomed there. So it's definitely a place that's on my list. There's so much rich history over there, as well as wildlife opportunities that we don't have. So contrast that with the Torre del Paine and the Puma.
Different. Torres del Paine, it's a very, very strong experience because you get so close to the animals, which is something you cannot do in North America. Obviously, just finding a puma in North America is so difficult. And it's easier. It's in those terms, it's easier because there is a big concentration of cats, and the cats are more used to see people. Just to make sure everybody understands, those cats are wild. They are not bordered, they are not baited, they are not anything. They are completely wild. But it's kind of a proof that the cougar, the puma, that is in many other places have a very terrible reputation as a man-eater and super dangerous cat, is not looking to eat us. And when you go there, you can get very close to the animals, sometimes within 20 meters, 15 meters away, and the experience is amazing. Just being that close to a big cat, it's something that the adrenaline, everything makes you feel so alive, so amazing. And of course, seeing those cats absolutely ignore you and going on with their life, hunting, playing, a mother playing with her kittens, the experience is just amazing. And I don't think there is another place on the planet that you can do this with the pumas or with any other big cat. So obviously I recommend everybody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And try to do it off season, actually, not in the main season, because off season there's nobody there, just you and your guide, and could be snow. And when everybody else go, there is no snow, and could be a few groups in the field that kind of sitting on the same cat, and it's a different experience.
What is the off season down there?
It's our summer, your summer, and on the southern part of the planet, it's winter. So
right.
I would go like from June to end of August, which is winter, but it's not very cold over there. It doesn't get that cold. It's not North American cold. It's not Canada cold. It's reasonable cold for you guys for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get snow. Not great chance for a lot of snow, because the area where the pumas hang out usually, it doesn't get that much snow. But everything around gonna be snowy, the mountains and the environment. And it's a beautiful place for other wildlife as well. The two different types of foxes that you don't see in North America, the Patagonian gray fox and the Patagonian red fox. They call it red fox. It actually doesn't look at all like a red fox. It looks like more like a coyote. It's
Mm-hmm.
much bigger, and it's pretty nice looking. Beautiful bird sightings over there. Really nice place to go.
I didn't know there were bears. I hadn't seen that. Wow.
Oh, no, I said birds. Sorry about my accent.
Birds.
Oh, okay.
But there are bears in South America. I don't know if you know, the Andean bears. Yeah, in the cloud forest there are bears, but not there.
Right.
Not that far
Right.
south.
I've heard I think it was a Dirtbag Diaries podcast about a research study with those bears, and hard to get to, at least the ones they were studying. Your puma pictures, the backgrounds are wonderful, right? I mean, where they are, there's such hilltops and distant scenes. The environment's spectacular to photograph them in.
Yeah, I was lucky with the mother. It's another thing about research. I knew there is a mother with 4 cubs. I knew she's there right now, and I said I have to go. So I decided in a week in advance. I called everybody that can help me organize the guide and everything, and I just went there. So you have to kind of see the opportunity and go for it, and that's something that important also. Like be how do you call it?
Flexible.
You have to be spontaneous. You have to have your radars open all the time. And when you see the opportunity to see something special, you go, because those things doesn't happen very often. So that's another advice I can give people.
Sure.
No kidding. 4 kittens. Wow. What an opportunity.
That's impressive.
And
That's
there
even
they
more
are
impressive.
all together.
It's even more impressive than a bear having 4 cubs, because it's usually twins for a mountain lion or puma, and sometimes 3, but rarely 4.
Yeah, right.
That's a fortunate sighting.
August 6, 2019 Instagram post. That's all 4 kittens together. Beautiful light.
Yeah. No, you can see another one with the mountains behind them. That's kind of a cropped one, and then you can see the full frame.
Oh,
which is, I
yes.
think it's nicer even.
Yes. July,
So yeah,
July
I
11th.
was lucky with with the getting to spend the time with this family, and also the with things that happened in the field, like the way they set with the mountains behind them and everything. Yet you must be lucky, but you have to help your luck. That's the
Right.
main thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. If you're not out there, you'll never see it.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to go.
So I want to talk a little bit about your jewelry, because that was a part of you photographing, correct? As I recall, is getting reference or getting ideas for the jewelry that you make.
It's kind of a process that I kind of reached after a few years of making jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, I made mostly dog breeds, and I started in probably in 2011. I started making jewelry, and I started with dog breeds, and I decided to do every dog breed that is on the planet.
Oh,
And there
wow.
are like over 350 different dog breeds. And I made most of them. I think I still have a few left, but very uncommon breeds. And making those jewelry, it's actually what allowed me later to try to start taking wildlife photography seriously, because I was not able to afford traveling that much and to those remote places before my jewelry business really picked up.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started traveling, I started to use the photos as inspiration to create more jewelries for wildlife and the animals that I connect to, the animals that I photographed, and I tried to do different style of jewelry that actually tell a story in the jewelry of the animal behavior or environment. And I think guys can see if you look at the stuff, you can see like the jewelry that inspired by my Puma encounters, and you can see jewelry that inspired by my encounters with doll sheep, polar bears. So I really enjoy like walking both fields and like inspire. It's inspire your. It's kind of inspiring from both ways, because it's changed your thinking before going into the field and taking the photo. And when you took the photo, you start to think, okay, how can I get inspired by looking at the photo and create something different with the jewelry? So it's really fun for me in the last few years to combine both fields.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Sorry, the baby is crying a little bit. I don't know if you can hear me, but
no, but that's okay.
Okay.
Unless you need to go
No,
get okay.
his mother is with him, so it's fine.
Okay. So you can take a look at the jewelry. You've got a few items on your Instagram page as well. And we will direct those in the show notes. We'll direct people to be able to see your jewelry as well in that
Sure.
website, because
Thanks.
it is it's inspiring to see some of the images and then see your interpretation with the jewelry that you've made as well. I think there's a bracelet where there's actually and I don't know what kind of cat. I guess I assumed it was a cheetah or a leopard chasing an antelope. I'm
Gazelle.
guessing. Gazelle.
Thompson
Okay.
Gazelle. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I made like if you go to my website, I have like a blog, and you can scroll down. There is one blog post about showing the jewelry next to the pictures as
Nice.
inspiration. So it's nice to see it and read my explanation over there.
Mm-hmm.
How my jewelry design changed my photography, and how my photography changed my jewelry design. And that's the beauty of it. It works together.
That's excellent. So most people, get started at home. What do you photograph close to home? Is that where the Nubian ibex came from?
Yeah, yeah, the Nubian ibex, Arabian fox. We have wolves. We have actually this year I'm going to spend much more time photographing next to home or in Israel, which is a small country, only 6.5, 7 hours to drive from the northern tip to the south tip.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually have a very amazing and diverse wildlife, which is not very photographed. And one of the challenges that I put for myself this year to photograph some of the species that I have never seen before, and I have never photographed before. And I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try both, going and spending time in the field, and both with camera traps.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because some of those wildlife are very elusive. Some of them are just almost completely nocturnal, active at night. But very interesting wildlife. We have, for example, the Arabian caracal, which is amazing cat, which I think nobody in Israel photographed one. In a good way for years. And we know they are here. We know they are here all over the country, but it's so difficult to see one, almost impossible.
The caracal, are they the long-legged bird hunters?
Yeah, the one with the ear tuft. Like
Yes.
it's black ear tuft, and it's the color of the body is like light brown. Beautiful, beautiful cat. And it's such a elusive cat, and I'm going to try for it. And actually, I got a pretty good clue yesterday about somebody seeing one only 45 minutes away from my home, which is pretty close. So I'm excited about this sighting. I'm going to try for this one. It's going to be easier for me than driving 4 hours to the south to look for one.
Sure.
And another animal that is quite difficult to photograph is the striped hyena.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize they were in Israel.
Yeah. They're actually doing pretty good in Israel, but they are also very shy and nocturnal, and it's difficult to see one during the day.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 different kind of foxes. One is very easy, the Arabian fox. It's kind of Arabian red fox. It looks different than the one in North America, but it's an easy one to get, and the other ones are very difficult to get. So I'm going to try for the 2 other species. And the biggest dream is a leopard. And I don't know if you guys know, but until 10 years ago, we used to have leopards in Israel. The last one was seen in 2008, and there is a big discussion if there are any of them left or not. Nobody have seen one. So I'm dreaming about finding one, or the best chance, of course, with the camera trap. So if that's happened, that's like crazy. But anyway, it's a lot more challenging to photograph those elusive creatures, and I find it now very exciting. Something I didn't see like a few years ago. I was all about going there, going to the far corner of the world, and now this year I'm excited about trying to do special things in my country, and I'll try.
Especially with the new addition to your family, that kind of lends itself to staying closer to home. But
I'm still going to travel, but of course this year
Sure.
we don't know with the COVID when we're going to be able to travel again and do it safely. So and try to take advantage of what I have here.
Sounds like an incredible challenge and fun.
Yeah.
If it works out, how exciting would that be? Worth trying.
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
going to say Israel is very under publicized for wildlife. And there's not a lot of information out there, not a lot of images out there that I've seen, and it may just be because of my network. I don't know a lot of people there. You're the first photographer I've ever met from wildlife photographer from Israel, but you do a lot all over the world. So that probably is
Yeah,
what put you on my radar.
right.
Are there other photographers in Israel
Oh yeah,
successful?
there are
I have
quite
I have a good
few.
friend.
Do you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yaron Eni. Do you know
Oh,
Yaron?
your own, yeah,
Yeah,
for
Yaron
sure.
Eni is
sure. On what? What's the
Eni.
family name? Amy.
Eni. Yes, Eini.
I don't know
He's
him.
he's a very talented and well-versed photographer who's traveled a
Okay.
lot too. But he does all kinds of photography, not just
Mm.
wildlife. But yeah, a good friend
Hmm.
who I met in the field in North America.
Okay.
He's from
I
he's
don't know him. I will look it up. But yeah, I was thinking you were talking about a different Yaron, which is also quite a famous Israeli wildlife photographer that lives in New York. But
okay.
uh, anyhow, uh, yeah, it's true what you said about when you go into social media, you see very limited diversity of animals. I mean, and it has to do with your cycles, of course.
Hmm.
But that's what actually when I go to on Instagram, I see the animals that everybody photographed in North America and Africa and the more common things that people do, and it's very exciting and amazing. There is a reason why people want to photograph those charismatic animals.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's one of the things I'm excited about, to show people like you different nature, different animals that you maybe never seen before, or you don't see them very often on social media. So
Hmm.
it's kind of something that came up to me this year that I realized that's something I need to do and take seriously, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, your ibex shot, the one that kind of stopped me in my tracks was it was kind of an intimate moment between a mother and the is it do you call them fawns or calves or
The ibex, it's like it's a kid. It's
a
ibex. It's
kid?
from the
Okay, so it's
sheep
a
family. So
goat
it's
sheep
like
family. Yeah.
very much like your mountain goat or your doll sheep, bighorn sheep. Same
Hmm.
family, a little bit different, but in the same family.
Yeah. So the
And
kid is looking up from under mom's chin, looking up at mom. That
yeah,
image,
yeah,
it was a very intimate moment, and it was well captured.
it's yeah. We have a very good spot for Nubian ibex. Nubian ibex are actually quite rare around the world. There's only about 3,000 left,
Hmm.
but in Israel they're pretty easy to find. And actually, next month, like early April, it's the best time when the newborns are born, early spring, and there is a beautiful spot in Israel just above the cliff with a big crater in the background where they every morning, every sunrise, they walk in the same route,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's a beautiful place to spend mornings, especially early April and maybe later this in the spring. Beautiful animals, and they're pretty easy to get close to them. So I think the sheep family, it's a lot of times it's easy to get close to those animals. Same with the sheep in the US.
Hmm. Yeah, they're very tolerant most
Yeah,
places. Hmm.
yeah.
I don't know if I can go off on another subject. I've muskox are on my wish list to experience someday because I'm just drawn to the north constantly, and I have not had an encounter with muskox. And you've had the wonderful privilege of experiencing them in two of the iconic destinations on this planet, in Norway and in Alaska. Would there? I don't know if there's much difference. I'm just curious whether there was more whether you found much difference between the animals in the two locations or the whole experience itself when you what you took away from the two.
Um, it's different because, in my opinion, the experience in Norway is much stronger than in Alaska, but it also has to do with the time of the year you go. I was in Norway 3 times during the mid of the winter, and when I went to Alaska, it was like late fall, like early October. So it's different. But if I judge the experience, first of all, I think the landscape where they are in Norway is more impressive. You have to walk harder. You cannot drive with your car and get close to them, and you have to hike the mountains. Or if you want to do something organized, I think they go and take people with the dog sleds up the mountains. People that can't walk very well because you're not allowed to go with the motorbike on the mountains. And then you have to go up and you have to find them in a very vast area. But when you find them, it's in the most beautiful environment with the snowy mountains, and it's amazing animal to observe. The males a lot of time kind of challenge each other, and even outside of the rut season, they play together and like sizing each other's strength and just being up there in the mountains with the fresh air and dealing with the elements, the cold, the wind, very windy on the mountains. That's what I'm enjoying very much. And the harsher the weather is, the more I enjoy it. And I think it also shows in the photos that if you get a nice blizzard and they're all covered with snow, or, white out and stuff like that, it's you can really create really cool photos as opposed to a normal blue sky. So that's Norway. And Alaska, where I went, it's on the Dalton Highway. You have to drive really far on the Dalton Highway, like 50 to 30 miles before the end of the road, before a dead horse.
Mm-hmm.
And they move around during the year. So if you come during the summer or you come until early October, you have a good chance to find them not that far from the road. But once the river is frozen, they're going to cross to the other side of the river and they're going to go farther into the east. And it's going to be more difficult to find. So when we were there, it was like a few days before they crossed, and then we saw them crossing. So it's always nice to spend time with them, but it's always amazing. And you can get close to them. They're sheep, after all. So they're not very afraid of people most of the time. Depends where. Like in Greenland, they are very afraid of people because they're hunted. But in other places, they are quite okay with people. But they also have to remember that it's a 400 kilos beast, and you don't want to make it upset. Mm-hmm. So you have to keep your distance. You have to read their language, and but the difference, what I found, that Alaska, the backdrop, the landscape where they are is not as impressive like when you go in Norway on the mountains. Mm-hmm. At least when I was there. And that's what makes the difference in photography, I think, a lot of time. And I know you can find them in Nome as well, which I think maybe Nome it can be more impressive during the winter. They are more in the mountains over there. So it might be a better place to go during the winter.
Yeah, I'd like to try it in Nome.
Yeah.
I'd time it with the end of the Iditarod. Go there for, I don't know how close they'd be to Nome at that time of year, but it'd be ideal to see that and then spend a week with muskox or trying to find them. But You're absolutely right. For this species, there's no better image than looking like they're in a blizzard, because they look prehistoric and it looks like, their coat, they can survive anything in the Arctic, in the north. And to show those elements along with them is ideal. And again, obviously you're going to remember the experience for the rest of your life for just going through those conditions yourself and making those images in that super cold wind.
That's a part of wildlife photography that I enjoy so much, like just being out there and feeling what those animal feels. So if you do it like in a controlled environment, or a lot of times people go to like set up heights and stuff, you don't feel that you are in nature. And for me, it's a big part just being out there and walking out for the photos.
Yeah, I agree. I want to cover two things. One, you shoot a Canon system, right?
Yeah.
You're shooting the 200 to 400. What body are you using? Did you switch to mirrorless yet?
Not yet. Not yet. It feels so small in the hand. I don't know. I like the build quality of the big bodies. Like, so I'm using. I have two bodies of the 1DX Mark II,
Mm-hmm.
and I have one body of the 5D SR. Which was a
high
pioneer body
megapixel,
with the 50 megapixel.
Mm-hmm.
It has its own limits, of course, but I like this body. And actually now I'm thinking about organizing my gear again, and because I want to do the camera traps, as I told you, and I want to do different things. So I might sell one of those bodies, and I might get a couple more simple bodies to use as a camera trap, because when you put something out there, especially in Israel, you put it in a big risk of getting lost or getting stolen by somebody, and I don't want to risk an expensive body over there. So we'll see. I'm thinking about selling stuff and organizing.
Yeah, I guess equipment is the biggest limitation to camera trapping, because you're putting something out in a remote location and you don't have access to it for a while. So you do want to have a couple extra bodies.
Yeah,
for something
you must.
Like that.
And if you put 2 cameras or you put 10 cameras, it's a big difference in your chances.
Mm-hmm.
So you better put a lot of cheaper cameras and enlarge your chances of capturing something special, and instead of putting 2 expensive bodies and also risk those bodies of being stolen and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Then the other thing that I wanted to touch on, looking at your portfolio, you do a lot of high key and low key. So when you're in snow, you're shooting a lot of high key images, and then, in what looks to me like you're shooting the fox. So it looks to me like you're probably closer to home in the desert area, and you shoot a lot of low key where you're using backlight, rim lighting the animals. How did you come about that? Was that an inspiration from another photographer, or is that something that you just kind of started to explore on your own?
I think it's both. I think we are also inspired by other photographers nowadays, just looking around on social media and on the internet and see so many amazing photographers, and you can learn from so many people and get inspired. So it's something I started to do and try probably 2 years ago, and pretty challenging to get it, because you have to get the right light, and you have to get you have to get the animals in the right time of the day, and you have to get dark background, and background has to be in the shade. So if I can get a photo like that, I will go for it instead of using a more traditional exposure. So it's something that I'm trying to always add to my photography, trying to get more artistic, trying to do stuff that are different. You always have to remember that everything was done before. You don't invent anything, but
Right.
it's more interesting for me these days to really do more minimalist high key images or low key images with just very graphic representation of the animal. Something I'm really excited about. Yeah.
Well,
And it's difficult to do in Israel because sunset and sunrise is so fast. The sun goes up and down very fast. and you don't have a lot of time to use the sun when it's low.
That would be a challenge. They
Yeah.
definitely stand out though, and that's why I wanted to ask and just encourage people to experiment a little bit and take a look at some of these images, and kind of when you have the opportunity, give them a chance, give them a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a different approach because nature is so beautiful, and you can just show nature the way you see it in your eyes, but then sometimes you don't bring anything from yourself. It's just like a representation of nature, documenting the nature, the beauty of the animals. But I feel that I'm bringing more out of myself when I am doing something more creative. That's why I'm excited about it.
That's a great point.
It's good advice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know not everybody like it. I know not everybody like those graphic images or silhouettes and stuff like that, but I really recommend everybody to try it and try to go out of the box and try to not always do what the camera recommend you to do in terms of exposure.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting, and sometimes by mistake you find your own way.
Right. The camera and I have disagreements consistently.
Like everybody.
So, before we wrap it up, I don't know if Mark has anything else, but I want to make sure that before we wrap it up, we get your website out there for folks. Go ahead and tell them your Instagram address and any other social media where they can find you.
Sure. So my website is amiteshel.com, like my name in one word. My Instagram is either Amit Eshel or at Siberian Art, which is my business name for the jewelry. And what else? Facebook, Siberian Art on Facebook, where you can see more of my jewelry. Amit Eshel on Facebook, my private profile. My Etsy shop for the jewelry. So you can look me up at Google, or you can, go to Instagram and find all those links, or just write me a note and I will direct you.
Yeah, and we'll put the links in the show notes also. I'll make sure we have everything from you, and we'll get it in the show notes for the podcast. And we'll get a couple of images to share there as well. Mark, did you have anything?
No, this has been fantastic. It's been a pleasure to meet you. I love your photography, and thank you for sharing some of the behind the scenes as far as like the snow leopards and your experiences and how people can perhaps experience that themselves. It just opens the door a crack for us to think about that, and I definitely appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing more of your work, and I don't know as far as this year. I mean, snow leopards, 2 trips. Man, I hope that works out for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's next winter, like January and February. I believe we're gonna be okay by then. I myself and everybody in my country are already vaccinated, so hopefully it works. But I'm optimistic. I think we're gonna be out of this big shit by the end of this summer. I hope, really hope so.
Definitely.
And those trips that Mark was just alluding to, people can find those on your website?
I have one of the snow leopard trips on my website. The other one, the Mongolian one, is not on my website yet.
Okay.
But it's going to be there soon.
Well, we'll let Mike talk to you first before you put it on the website.
Sure. I will explain him the difference between the 2 trips, so he can decide what is more right for him.
Mm-hmm.
They're different, yeah.
All right.
A life experience just to be in Mongolia, and again, as we talked about it,
it's amazing.
Culture.
And it's cold over there. Over there, it's really cold, like northern Canada cold.
Well, that's good to know. It doesn't necessarily look as cold, but it's more windswept and because of wind chill, or do they get a lot of snow?
It depends on different areas. Some
Okay.
areas get a lot of snow. Some areas doesn't get uh, hardly doesn't get any snow, but it's very cold. And one of the reasons that it's also called the land of the clear sky. So there is a lot of clear days, and it's cold there on the clear
Cold
days.
nights.
So,
Yeah.
but it's fun. You dress well, and it's fun.
Excellent.
In Mongolia, you're tent camping, correct? Too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's called a ger. It's like the round traditional tent, and it's
Yes.
boiling. It's like a sauna inside, actually.
Ah.
There are two women that are in charge of the putting wood in the stove, and they do it every 2 hours. And you sweat inside. You have to take your clothes. So it's
Oh, nice.
you don't get cold at night. That's a
Right.
good thing.
Wow. That'll definitely be a life experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have to say I enjoy seeing your photo. You two have beautiful photos, and I enjoy seeing all those experiences from the States and North America. Some of the animals that I haven't photographed very well, like your amazing caribou shots with the fall colors. Where did you take those shots? In Denali or upper in Canada?
Both. If you're talking to me, it's
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in the interior of Denali, but also in the Yukon and in Newfoundland, different places. But
Yeah. And that I enjoy the moose photos and the difference between the moose in different areas. Yeah, and Ron, I enjoy your stuff very much as well. The bears and the doll sheep and the stuff. Really inspiring.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and likewise. It's been
you.
fun to be able to observe your images and just the way that you see and the way that you interpret the scenes. I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. That kind of drew me to want to have you on and visit with you a little bit. So we greatly appreciate your time. Before Mark
Thank
signs
you
us
so
off,
much.
and please thank your family for your time also, since we're stealing it away from them. And
Yeah,
look
no
forward to
problem.
hopefully meeting you in the field one day.
I hope
I
so.
would
Yeah.
love to come to Israel, to be honest.
Oh, you're always welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
You've
it's gonna be different experience for you, and you're gonna enjoy it.
For sure.
yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's surprising when I look at your Instagram how many places that we've been, obviously not at the same time. So hopefully one of these days I'll have the opportunity to meet you in person in the field. That would be fun. You can find more of today's content at wildandexposed.com. As far as our constantly referring to show notes, there's information there on each podcast. When you go to the page and you hit explore on the homepage, it takes you right to our podcast page, and there's a whole list of them. The most recent one, this being up there, you click on it, you can see a few images of Amit's and some of the show notes, and of course, as we referred to, his links for all his different contacts and his website, etc. You can find more of the Wild and Exposed team's content on Instagram, on Facebook, at our website. Our podcasts, the audio versions come up every Tuesday, and the video versions are up on our YouTube channel on Fridays. Please take the time to check that out. Give us a thumbs up, the 5-star rating. Those help us to continue to do what we love to do and to bring you this content on a regular basis. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. There's new content, new playlists, stuff popping up all the time. Thanks, Amit. Thanks, Ron. It's been another fun
you.
podcast. Until next time, you've been listening to Wild and Exposed Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the Wild and Exposed podcast. If you haven't yet, please give us a rating and a review. And make sure you're subscribed so that you'll get every episode we produce as soon as we drop it. And as always, thanks for tuning in.
We're gonna make it someday. Nothing's gonna get in our way.